Wisdom of Solomon, Part 4. For the thoughts of the mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth, and with labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in heaven, who hath searched out? And thy counsel, who hath known, except thou give wisdom, and send the Spirit from above? For so the ways of them which lived on the earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom. She preserved the first formed father of the world that was created alone, and brought him out of his fall, and gave him power to rule all things. But when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. For whose cause, the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless unto Yah, and kept him strong against his tender compassion toward his son. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities, of whose wickedness, even to this day, the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. For regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offended they could not so much as be hid. But wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, shewed him the kingdom of Yah, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travels, and multiplied the fruit of his labors. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. And I don't think that's riches in mammon, because Yah don't serve money. That's the devil. She defended him from his enemies, and kept him safe from those that lay in wait. Like, Yah protects me from all these Satanists that lie in wait day and night, 24/7. And in a sore conflict she gave him the victory, that he might know that goodness is stronger than all. When the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit, and left him not in bonds, till she brought him to the sceptre of the kingdom, and the power against those that oppressed him. As for them that had accused him, she shewed them to be liars, and gave him perpetual glory. She delivered the righteous people and the blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. She entered into the soul of the servant of Yah, and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs, rendered to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for a cover by day, and a light of stars in a night season. Brought them through the Red Sea, and led them through much water. But she drowned their enemies, and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly, and praised thy holy name, Yah, and magnified with one accord thy hand, that fought for them. For wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent. She prospered their works in the hand of the holy prophet. They went through the wilderness that was not inhabited, and pitched tents in places where lay no way. They stood against their enemies and were avenged of their adversaries. When they were thirsty, they called upon thee, and water was given them out of the flinty rock, and their thirst was quenched out of the hard stone. For by what things their enemies were punished, by the same they in their need were benefited. For instead of a perpetual running river, troubled with foul blood, for a manifest reproof of the commandment, whereby the infants were slain, thou gavest unto them abundance of water by a means which they hoped not for, declaring by that thirst, then how thou hast punished their adversaries. For when they were tried a bit, but in mercy chastised, they knew how the ungodly were judged in wrath and tormented, thirsting in another manner than the just. For these, though, didst admonish and try as the father, but the other, as a severe king, though didst condemn and punish. Whether they were absent or present, they were vexed alike. For a double grief came upon them, and a groaning for the remembrance of things past. For when they heard by their own punishments the other to be benefited, they had some feeling of Yah, for whom they respected with scorn, when he was long before thrown out at the casting forth of the infants, him in the end, when they saw what came to pass, they admired. But for the foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worshipped serpents void of reason. And vile beasts, thou didst send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance, that they might know that wherewithal a man sinneth, by the same also shall he be punished. For thy almighty hand, that made the world of matter without form, wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears or fierce lions, or unknown wild beasts, full of rage, newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor or filthy sense of scattered smoke, or shooting horrible sparks out their eyes, whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them. Yea, and without these might they have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance, and scattered abroad through the breath of thy power. But thou hast ordered all things in measure and number and weight. For thou canst shewest thy great strength at all times when thou wilt. And who may withstand the power of thy arm? For the whole world before thee is as little grain of a balance, ye as a drop of a morning dew that falleth down upon the earth. But thou hast mercy upon all, for thou canst do all things, and winketh at sins of men, because they should amend. For thou lovest all the things that are, and harborest nothing which thou hast made. For never wouldest thou have made anything if thou hadst hated it. And how could anything have endured if it had not been thy will, or been preserved, if not called by thee? But thou sparest all, for they are thine, Yah, thou lover of souls. For the incorruptible spirit is in all things. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore, chastening thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Yah. I don't like saying the O. Believeth on Yah. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our dads both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatest for doing most hideous work of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and feasts of the blood. You heard me speaking all that stuff. I'm ready for war with these Satanists, with their priests out of the midst of their adulterous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help, that the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of Yah's children. Nevertheless, even those thou sparest as men, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thy host, to destroy them by little and little, not that thou hast unable to bring the ungodly under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beasts, or with one rough word. Whoo-hoo! Yeah.